Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from deltacx.com and customercentricity.com, and welcome to the early office hours that I do once a month to try to accommodate people in other time zones. Normally, office hours is every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Italy time, but we've heard from people east of me that they are asleep. So, hello, Rishav. So, I am here to answer absolutely any question that you have. You'll probably get a better answer if it's about CX or UX or strategy or these things. Hello, Maxim. Please feel free to ask any question you have. I'm here live for the next hour, and there are no questions that I received ahead of time. If you would like to receive a question, send me a question ahead of time, you can always do that. There's a link at deltacx.com/links. Sorry, I'm still a little bit puffy and waking up and low effort on the makeup, but there you go. It's me. I'm alive. I am wearing my Customers Know You Suck t-shirt. Do you have one? You should. Just go to deltacx.shop and you can pick up some stuff to match the new book. So there you go. So I'm just waiting now for questions. You can put them into the live chat. You can see the live chat does come up on my screen with your name. So you probably don't want to say anything too terrible about where you work. If you use the link from deltacx.com/links, you can ask a question anonymously. And that's where people usually tell their long stories about their jobs. So please feel free to go that route. Either route, I'm happy to ask answer questions. Okay, Rishab's got a question. Let's put this one up in the, I always make a list and I put it in the YouTube description later so you can see what questions we answered. Oh, good. R for Everything's here. Yes, very happy to take that question next. So let's get the first question up on the screen and then we'll work on the second question. And you can keep sending questions and I will copy and paste them onto my list. Okay, so what's the difference between CX and UX? And I think the answer is, it depends who you ask. There are some people who believe that CX is just marketing. CX is just, can we run some surveys to see if customers are happy? There you go, that's the customer experience. Some people say that your customer support teams are CX because they help people when people are having trouble with our systems or pricing. So that's the core of customer experience because your call center or customer support are interfacing with people so much. So there's a few different definitions, but I take the definition of when done well, CX and UX are the same thing. To me, it doesn't matter if someone is a customer, a user, a potential customer, a trial user, a partner. These are all people who exist in our business ecosystem, and they're people we want to do business with. We hope they will give us some sort of money in exchange for some sort of products or services. So I don't get too caught up in who's a customer, who's a user. Ultimately, everybody is somebody we want to see join us in some way, be happy, and stay. So to me, the customer experience, and see, do I still have my graphic? No, I took it off my board. The customer experience is about that full end-to-end experience, and they touch lots of different people and systems. There might be a sales department, there might be the marketing or advertising you're doing, there might be the word of mouth and the tweets about you, and then there's your actual products and services. And if those suck, you can do lots and lots of marketing, but eventually people might not want the thing that sucks. So I think if we were to look at the customer or user, my stream blipping, everybody, I'm on my backup internet today. I hope that wasn't too bad there. So anyway, you're going to hear lots of different definitions of CX and UX. Not everybody's agreeing, but I believe that the customer experience is the user experience is the customer experience, and it's absolutely every moment of everything that these people can do with our company. Digital, non-digital, with people, not with people. So as UXers, we like to think about that too, but our jobs sometimes don't let us. So I prefer to say CX because it reminds people I'm about every moment that we're having with people. I hope that helps. All right. Next, we've got our old friend R for Everything, who I don't know who that person actually is. And it says, tree testing. Please help me analyze the results and how should I present it in a report? Good news. I have a video on half of your question. So there is a video in the micro lessons playlist here on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe and tell friends about the channel. And I believe it is called, let me look it up, but if you scroll, there's only 30 something videos on the micro lessons channel. If you scroll down, I'm sure it'll jump out at you, but let me find it. It is called, I have one on setting up unmoderated tests like card sorts and tree tests, and I have one on interpreting unmoderated tests like card sorts and tree tests. It's from September 2021, and it says micro lessons interpreting unmoderated usability tests. So that would be, how do I interpret an unmoderated tree test? So hopefully that video will help you out. How do you present it in a report? I'm rarely asked to report on a tree test. That's normally something I use internally, where I've done the tree test and now I have to circle back and improve my information architecture and test it again. If someone wants a tree test for you, for tree test report from you, then my question would be like who and why, but mostly I would be probably doing just a few PowerPoint slides, maybe 1 or 2 slides on making sure they know what a tree test is and how it was done and how it's testing the information architecture and not people and not their knowledge. You know, this can't be fixed with more tutorials. And how the tree test aims to see if they can get right to the right place the first time. Because I mentioned in the other video that I only see a direct success as a success. An indirect success, to me, is a failure. So I would probably be reporting on what I found and how I'm going to fix the information architecture to account for it. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when it comes to reports, I'm asking my teammates or stakeholders, what kind of information do you need for this? And sometimes nobody cares about a tree test report. So my question would even be, do you need a tree test report? Usually I just use the information and keep on going. All right, we got in a question anonymously, and then I also see a new question in the chat from Ashala, I'm sorry, I'm so bad with international names. Please excuse me. Let me put that on the question list. Rishav, can you guide me for interaction designs? Not in a question, not in this format. I cannot teach you interaction design and I cannot guide your interaction design when I'm just sitting at a screen, not looking at your interaction design and talking and just answering questions. For that, you might need my coaching services where people pay me to work with them one-on-one on things they're learning, things they're practicing, and stuff like that. We have a long question from Yoni. Thank you for joining. Good midday to you. I'll add your question to the bottom of the list, but Rishav, I can't really guide you on interaction design because it is a whole set of skills. It's a huge set of stuff, and I would have to see your work to help guide you. So don't worry about it being long. We welcome long questions. That's totally fine. So let's go next to, we have 2 questions before you, Yoni. So just please wait some minutes because I do give long answers. We've got, I work in a startup nonprofit organization. Can you recommend free UX tools we can use in analyzing our metrics? Absolutely. I think the freest tool when it comes to analyzing metrics is probably going to be something along the lines of Microsoft Clarity. So thanks to everybody for their patience. Okay, we should be good now. Couple of slides on, in case if people know what a tree test is, skip this. Couple of slides on what is it, how and why did we do it, couple of slides on what did we find, and a couple of slides on suggested actions based on the research. Since people failed this many times on this thing, this is either not easy to find or the label doesn't make sense or both. And so here's what I suggest we do next. That's what I would do. All right, back to the question on the screen. Free UX tools to analyze our metrics. It really depends what metrics you're analyzing. Again, Google Analytics and Microsoft Clarity are free tools that you can try out. Microsoft Clarity is a little bit closer to Hotjar. If you've ever seen Hotjar, Microsoft Clarity does a lot of what Hotjar does for free. Not everybody everybody is allowed at their company to use a Microsoft product or a Google product, so you'll have to check. Other than that, a lot of times people are, again, I would need to know what our metrics are. It's so hard to know what you're talking about. Are you talking about customer satisfaction? That's probably a survey of some sort. Are you talking about time on task? That's going to be some sort of analytical tool of some sort, and the free ones might not be able to do that. So it's hard for me to make this recommendation without knowing more about what you're measuring and why. But I would say, because they're pretty much the only free tools I could think of, I'll say start with Google Analytics and Microsoft Clarity. I can't even think of other free ones. So I would say start there, because at least I can tell you those are free and the rest of it is a bit of an unknown. So good luck, and let me know how it goes, or give me more information. Problem validation test plan, had to do that. That really depends. So Ashala, tell me more about the problem and what you're trying to do with it, because a problem validation could be a lot of things. Sometimes it's, we believe this is what's going on for our customers. Are we right or wrong or something else? Sometimes for people, it's a possible idea or solution. And does this idea or solution solve a problem for the user? Do we understand the problem for the user? For some people, a problem validation test plan is more in the usability testing bucket, where it's, hey, we think we know the user's problem. We've got a design or a solution. Now we need to test that design or solution to validate or invalidate that it's a good design or that it's the right solution to the problem. So I would say, please tell me more. I am not sure that I can tell you what to do without knowing what you're doing. So if that made sense. So let's start there. So tell me more when you can, and we'll have to circle back to your question. I know we're about 40 seconds delayed, so I'm not ignoring you. There's just a little delay between us. And hey, this is office hours. Please ask your questions in the chat and I'll put them on the list. First come, first served. Or you can also ask anonymously at deltacx.com/links. Also remember, I've got a new book out, Customers Know You Suck, and I'm doing the live workshop version coming up in a couple of weeks. You can find all of this on deltacx.media, my new site for books, speaking, and workshops. So head over there, and I'll be announcing some more live workshops soon, and it sounds like they're going to be around the world. I'm definitely doing Croatia on June 1st. I'm definitely doing Denver in mid-May, and I am just starting to talk to people about Tel Aviv, Vilnius, and forgot the other one. So hopefully I'm coming to a city near you, and if you'd like to bring me in, get in touch. I am traveling again, and I would love to come see you and do a workshop at your company or for your group. So, problem validation test plan. We didn't get a follow-up question there. I'm going to press pause on your question, and we're going to talk to Yoni. And we're going to have to make this font a lot smaller, but that's okay. We're going to go through the whole question, and if anybody has ideas or suggestions, yell them out. Here we go. Hard to read question, even on my big screen, but there you go. Yoni says, I'm now finishing a course on UX and working on the final project. I'm working on an app to be used by mental health sufferers and their caregivers or supporters. Most of my research right now is exploratory, and I've designed some screens, but I haven't yet found real people to interview and send questionnaires to. Because this is my first real project, I'm having trouble organizing the work process in a coherent way. B, I don't know how to arrange it in the portfolio. I realized even for UX researchers and designers who don't deal with research project, the portfolio doesn't matter. If your research project isn't good, a pretty portfolio about a bad research project won't matter. So please don't worry about the portfolio. Trust that you will figure out some way to tell the story and just focus now on the project. Number 2, it sounds like you don't have a mentor or coach or instructor, because if you did, I would hope that they are telling you, please don't do a project about mental health. I have this conversation from from time to time with people. And I would say if it's not too late, please absolutely do not do mental health as a test or first project. Don't do physical health. Don't do mental health. Don't do anything where you're going to ask people really personal and invasive questions about their lives, their decisions, their choices. This is not good. And especially if you don't have a mentor or coach who's going to be checking your work, you might ask people inappropriate questions. Depending upon where you are and where they are, you might ask them illegal questions. Depending upon where you are and where they are, you might not be doing the right thing with their data storage, their data privacy, things like this. Please, please, please stay away. Even if it's a topic that's close to your heart and you care about it and all of that, I get it. But please start with something less likely to be awkward and difficult. Mental health is extremely complicated. Mental health interviews really should require that you have a deep background in psychology and human behavior so that you are asking the right questions in the right ways and being sensitive to the answers the person is giving or not giving you. So I can't even get started worrying about your work process because I believe you have the wrong project. Please, please, please do something simpler. For example, someone I'm working with is investigating why their local city keeps planting trees and no one takes care of the trees and the trees are dying. I know this person cares about people's mental health. I know this person thinks that there could be more things out there that would help people in different situations, but that doesn't mean it's a good practice project. That doesn't mean it's a good place to start, especially if you don't have a mentor, coach, or instructor who can guide you in such an extremely sensitive area. I just dropped out of a course, and part of the reason, though there were unfortunately many reasons why I dropped out of the course, but part of the reason was that they decided that the sample project for everybody was to talk to heart attack survivors. And I felt that that was inappropriate, especially since that many people in the course had never done research before, never done questions or interviews before. And people on my team had some pretty inappropriate questions, and the people running the course weren't checking in on the quality of questions. They didn't give us a good way to keep information private. People on my team even wanted to ask sexual questions and sexual health questions. So please, Yanni, for whatever you're working on, for whatever you're trying to do, please pick something a little bit simpler and more straightforward as you learn and practice. When you have a lot more experience and you have a lot more knowledge about human behavior and psychology, then it might make sense for you to dive into something that is extremely sensitive and extremely personal and stuff like that, especially because I find people in courses often pick the cheapest and easiest people to interview, and that's usually friends and family. Now, in real life, that's a no-go, but in these courses, very often you do it. So now you're going to ask friends and family very private questions about mental health or mental illness or depression or feelings. No, no, no. Can I just say no, 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 no? And organizing your work process in a coherent way, that's what the course is supposed to teach you. Your course should be teaching you that. I can try to help you. I can try to help you live on this show. I can try to help you in one-on-one coaching. Oh, I forgot to say deltacx.link/coaching for people who want to sign up with coaching with me. The first one's always free. After that, I do charge. But you wouldn't have to ask me how to organize your work process if the course you were taking taught you that, because you should know that. You should have been taught that. So I'm very concerned about this course, and I'm very concerned about what you're learning and how you're learning it, and I'm very concerned about the lack of support you're getting, which you need, even if you picked an easy topic. We've got some new questions from Kick. Strong feelings on that, but I'm also not sorry for some of my strong feelings on that because someone has to tell you. Okay, before we go to Kick Night, we did get a question in anonymously, so I'm going to put that one up on the screen and then we'll get to Kick Night. Here we go. Okay, I think we can make the font bigger on this one. This one says, we conducted a user interview with 5 participants for our startup nonprofit organization, and 3 people didn't like the illustrations in our design. How do we know if it's a go signal to change our illustrations and branding? How do we know if we need to interview more people? Okay, great question. I really love that you're trying to think critically about what happened during those interviews. The LinkedIn interview died. Okay, Yoni, sorry. Thanks for joining on YouTube. I spent a lot of time answering your question. If you missed that because the LinkedIn stream died, it's here in YouTube. Just roll back in time. But ultimately, I have a lot of concerns, and there's a lot of things I'm concerned about. But let's help this person right now, and Yanni, will come back to you. And we're connected on LinkedIn. You can always shoot me a quick question if you need to. But some people just might need my coaching if people have time and money for it, and that's deltacx.link/coaching. So the question here, I have to get pointing in the right direction, is we conducted interviews and people didn't like our illustrations or something about our branding. So my first question would be, what questions were you asking them? So I just want to make sure you weren't asking them weird or leading questions like, hey, what do you think of our branding? Or, hey, do you like these illustrations? Because sometimes you're just inviting comments, and those questions aren't the right way to figure out if someone likes or doesn't like something. There's other ways that we can do it. But I would say that if people are volunteering these things, it is worth looking at. If you say, does it make sense to think about this if 3 people said it, or do we need more people? As soon as a few people say something, I'm concerned about it. Sometimes if one person says something, I'm concerned about it. So remember, it's not like the number of people decide who wins. It's not like if 3 people don't like your illustrations and 7 people do like your illustrations, the 7 people win and we're fine. If the 3 people are from your target audience, that says 30% of your audience might not like your branding or illustrations or content or something like that, and I think it is worth looking at. Again, sometimes when it's one person, we have to figure out if they're making a good point or if they're just an outlier, but certainly if 3 out of 5 people said something, and especially if they volunteered it and you didn't even ask them what they thought of it, that is definitely a concern. And I would like to know why they didn't like the illustrations, because I don't know if it's stylistic. They don't like the style of the illustrations. I don't know if it's quality. The illustrations were not done that well, and people can tell they're low quality. They were done by me. Has anyone ever seen me draw something? It's the worst. Maybe the illustrations don't feel relevant to the illustrations you picked or had done don't feel relevant to the website or the topic. Maybe the illustrations aren't diverse enough. Sometimes people say, wow, you've just picked a whole bunch of pictures of white people. What's this crap? So, so it's hard to act on this when we don't know why. So one of my questions would be, do we know why? So, because the problem is, I could say to you, yeah, there's something going on here. You might want to change these illustrations, but the question is, do you know what to change and why? If you don't have the qualitative data of exactly what made people feel disconnected from these or dislike for them or negativity around them, you won't know what to change and you might be guessing. Cycles of guessing are slow and expensive. They always are. So my thought would be, yes, consider changing these. Sorry, I'm mixing up my breakfast shake. Consider changing these, but make sure you know why people didn't like these, because I don't like this isn't enough. That doesn't tell you what to do. It is not actionable. It's important, and it's going to tell you that there's more for you to research. You want to learn why. What about these is not working for people? I'd like to know, you'd like to know, but I wouldn't just guess and change them and try something else because you don't know why. You don't know what you're changing. You might change something that people liked because you guessed wrong. Subscribe on YouTube. It's the better way to go for many reasons. Subscribe. Okay, so Kick Knight said, with the recent rise of AI tools like ChatGPT, I'm starting to worry about the designer role in really near future, not to mention about the next generation of designers. What is your perspective on the topic? How could I approach it with less fear? So we've talked a few times on the channel about ChatGPT and machine learning, because it's not really AI yet. It's still machine learning. You're trained on a model. You parrot back the model in some way. These are not artificial intelligence just yet, based on the proper definition of AI. So, number one, I believe, and again, this is just my opinion, but I believe that there is always a job for a critical thinker. There is always a job for someone who can look at things and see the nuances that something else or a bot won't see. There's always going to be room for a researcher who watches people and sees the things that a computer isn't going to see. For a designer, the problem is that while people think that UX design is just, hey, can you just make a pretty screen? Then sure, we sound like we can be easily replaced by anything that can make a pretty screen. This is where we need better UX leaders, and where we need to support the people who are out there talking about how UX is about so much more than, can a designer make a pretty screen, or can a designer do something in Figma. When I see some of the things that people are posting on LinkedIn saying, hey, I asked this AI to design an app or design a screen, and here's what it did. It can, because it is working off existing models and it's not artificially intelligent, we know it can make something that looks good. But what about the substance? Did it truly solve the original user's problem? Did it understand that problem? Does it have the domain knowledge around the industry in which we work? Does it have the research knowledge about our target audiences and their behaviors and tasks and perspectives? So you can always, something can make a nice screen. My dog can make a nice screen. A child who lives near me could make a nice screen. But when we remind people that the core of UX work across all of UX, when we talk about the core of UX work being about problem finding and problem solving, your ML or AI tool can certainly make some guesses at a problem solution based on how other people have solved other problems other times, in other ways, for other reasons. That doesn't mean that the AI is solving your customers' problems the right ways for them, for your company. So again, it lacks critical thinking. It's, if the chat GPT or AI is going to give most people the same answers or very similar answers, then clearly it's not that creative. It's not really solving a problem. So I think that where people have a lot of skills that are just put our branding on the screen, I think that the first thing that is likely to get replaced by AI, if anything, is probably some UI design, because even though UI designers should be problem solvers and should care about accessibility and all of that, it does seem like with all of the AI and ML making artwork, it does seem like it's the first thing that we're going to need less of. But I think when we think about research and design, research is about intelligence and evidence, and design is about, now that we understand people and what do we always put up on the show? People, contexts, and systems. Now that we understand those, how do we define our problems and how do we solve the problems? And AI can take a guess, but that guess could be awesome, and it could be really wrong and even destructive to our project and company. So to me, we're always going to need critical thinkers whose work can't be replaced by a factory robot. So I think in my lifetime, I'm probably not going to see my job undone. That's just me. But I think that if I were more of a solely visual artist and I would see all of these bots making art, I would probably say, Holy cats, what am all right, this one just came in anonymously. And by the way, if you'd like to ask a question, they're free. Come on in, drop something in the chat, send something to deltacx.com/links. I'm here every Tuesday, usually at 6:30 p.m. Italy time. So I will be here again later today. But once a month, I do one at 10 a.m. Italy time for all of the time zones that find this time to be better. So, okay, this anonymous question says, I want to be a UX designer, but my UI skills are not that good. Am I going to have a hard time entering the industry if my experience is only UX? I'm going to say yes and no, which is not a great answer. So here's why. My skills are only UX. I am not a UI designer, but here's my other question. And yes, a lot of jobs think they want UX and UI together, but let's look at our UI right now. At a company that has a design system, a component library, a UI kit, or any kind of brand and style guide, most of the UI has already been done. And that's usually what I'm asking in job interviews. When people say, hey, we need UX and UI, I say, well, tell me more about the UI. Am I just reusing components from a system that's already been designed because you have your design and you have your brand? Because if so, yeah, I can do that. I can take the pieces you've already designed and work them into my designs. Or do we not have that? And every single component and piece has to be individually designed, and someone has to be amazing at design and color and shape and spacing and typography and icons and all that stuff, because that's not me. And I would say most of the time people say to me, oh, no, we already have a defined branding and design system. You're not making that, you're just using it. And I go, cool, I can use that, but I'm not an artist, so I'm not going to make that. And I think that's another thing that's changing UI designer jobs as well. I wrote an article about it 2 or so years ago. The more that we have, a UI designer has to make a design system. But then after that, we only need the UI designer here and there to maintain it, add to it, update it, improve it, check it for accessibility, these things. That changes how much we need a UI designer. I remember 10 years ago, or even less, when I would make a wireframe and it would be undesigned. And then I gave that wireframe to a visual designer, and the visual designer had to take every page that I made and make a visual design version of it. We don't do that much anymore. We realized that was a step we didn't necessarily need. So if there is a design system or a component library or a UI kit or whatever they're calling it, you can just put that into your designs. I have no problem doing that. I just take, this is what a button looks like. Okay, I'll use that. This is what a header one looks like. Okay, I'll use that. So I would say, I think you can still enter the industry. The industry thinks it wants jacks of all unicorns and hybrids on top of hybrids, but I think there's still room for people like you and me who would rather find and solve problems and aren't artists, but I think that used to work against me a little bit more, but now it's kind of curving back where, okay, I'm not an artist. You don't want me to make your design system, but if you have a design system, I can just use that. I don't have to be a great artist to put things in their right places based on something people have already designed and decided. So I think that ultimately kind of works for us specialists or us non-artists in that longer run. So, hey, I hope that helps. I've caught up on questions. I'm usually here an hour. If people have more questions, please let me know. They are free. I see this as my free international mentoring time. You can get mentoring from me here. Can you get coaching from me? Can I look at your designs and give you feedback? Probably not. That probably requires some private time between you and me, especially if what you're working on is or should be confidential. So we're not going to put it up on the YouTube channel and get you in trouble for sharing something confidential. But yes, questions are certainly available here for free. You can also join my Slack and Discord communities. The link is at deltacx.com/links. And those are free. and we help each other there as well. It's all free. My book costs money, though it's $1 on the deltacx.media site, a little bit more on Amazon. It's now out on Audible for those of you who like audiobooks and don't mind the sound of my voice. What else? Yeah, and my workshop's coming up. Don't forget that. So go over to deltacx.media. You can find the books, you can find my speaking, you can find the workshops. The coaching is not there, but so there you go. If you have a question about anything I do or can offer you, those questions are welcome as well. Technically, in office hours, I will take on any question you have on any topic. Though I admit I only have expertise or experience in certain areas, but you are welcome to throw any question you want at me. I have received many strange questions over the years, so that had nothing to do with CX or UX. So, you are welcome to ask all the weirdness if you'd like. And I'll be back later doing this all again because I do it every Tuesday. You can, by the way, at deltacx.com/links, there's a Google Calendar. You can see when all of our live shows are. So you never have to be like, I wonder when Deb's going to be on YouTube doing a thing. You can certainly check our schedule, and that way you will know. Let's see. I'm not seeing any other questions. I sure hope I'm still live. Hope my stream didn't die. Nope, YouTube says I'm live. LinkedIn, who knows? LinkedIn is a mess. It's so tender and delicate. Oh, did it start twice? Yeah, it looks like it started twice on LinkedIn. I don't know. Sorry. So let's see. Anne. Hello, Anne. How do we know the appropriate number of participants for user interviews and testing? Ooh, I love this question. Thank you. Let me put it on the bottom of our list because the list goes in the YouTube description, so you can see everything we talked about in order, and I will get it up on the screen as well. Alrighty. Bump up that font too. Okay, so there are some guidelines and general rules for the number of participants for generative and evaluative research. So generative is going to be your early research, providing you with behavioral and attitudinal and other early customer and user intelligence. And then, of course, you have your evaluative testing, which is your usability testing and things like that. So I'm going to talk about both because I think you're asking about both, but if not, we'll help somebody out there. So the general guidelines are for early generative research, where we're trying to do that early research to answer our unanswered questions and set us up for success. The general guideline is 8 to 12 people per, don't hang up on me yet, per persona, target segment, audience, typology, profile, whatever it is, per group. So that means if you have identified 3 target audiences, 3 segments, 3 personas, 8 people would not be enough. So you typically want 8 to 12 people per group, segment, persona. That means for generative research, that would be 24 to 36. But also remember, we want to make sure we are including a good mix of people. So within those 8 to 12, we want to meet different genders, different ages, different ethnicities, again, depending upon who our target audience is. But don't forget to meet people with different disabilities. Don't forget to meet people who might have visual disabilities. Don't forget mobility disabilities. Not everybody's typing on a keyboard. There could be all kinds of other disabilities. For some people, there's neurodivergence, which for some is a disability and some is a superpower. So I'm not going to judge it. But, it was the rule and the guideline, or at least the guideline, we don't have to call it a rule, was 8 to 12 when it was a bunch of white men probably thinking about white men. So we want to make sure that as we try to be more diverse, or say it with me, #empathy, we want to make sure that we are using a larger set so that we are not leaving out or ignoring a diverse audience, including people with accessibility. No, YouTube started once? Yeah, okay, good. YouTube seems to be healthy. Okay. Sorry, just checking that my internet blips didn't kill us. Okay, back to Anne. So the NNG article that many people misquote and misunderstand says 5 per persona, group, segment, audience for your first round. They recommend that after your first round knocks out the worst and most obvious and easy for people to find bugs and problems and flaws, you can test with more people. So you don't have to stick to only 5, because Nielsen Norman wrote an article and said 5 is a good number to start. So remember, if we find that we have 3 target audiences or segments or whatever it might be, you might want to start with 15. 5 from each of these groups. Now, for accessibility, sometimes you don't bring in the accessibility testers until the second round, if there is going to be a second round. If not, bring in the accessibility testers sooner. But sometimes the accessibility testers are testing something that's just unusable to them, and it doesn't make sense to bring them in yet. That's time and money that people won't want to spend, but eventually you will want those people with accessibility needs to usability test your prototype to make sure that it can be used tabbing through, foot switching through, to make sure that it can be used by people with color blindness or color contrast issues, to make sure that it can be used by people who need to magnify the screen. What about someone with a screen reader? Most prototypes don't handle screen readers yet, so sometimes that testing is done later in the process when engineering has built it for real and is now doing their testing. But still, please don't forget people with different accessibility needs. So that's the number of participants. We're doing a research study right now at Delta CX. We could not nail the client down on their exact target audience. It was very fuzzy, so we just went for 30 people, just so that we had a good mix of lots of different people who we could meet and get lots of different perspectives and maybe help them narrow down their target audience. I hope that helps, Anne. We've got 10 minutes left here, and I see 2 questions coming in. So let's, there's only one. One was Anne's question. So Anne, we got to you. I'm never ignoring you, but sometimes there's just people ahead of you. So, does Delta CX offer internships? Not at this time. We've done apprenticeship programs in the past, but we do not have one at this time. So that's a no. Please don't apply. There is no program. Okay, someone asked for our first time coaching session with me. Are we allowed to present to you our interview questions before conducting our user interviews? So everybody gets a half-hour coaching session with me for free. After that, I do charge 50 American dollars for a half hour. You can do whatever you want with that half hour that you get for free. You can do whatever you want with the future ones that are paid. I have some people who I think pay me for an hour and then just complain about their job. I'm not a qualified therapist, but you can do that. So if you would like to use our 30 minutes together to talk about some questions you're thinking about asking before a user interview, we can do that. A half hour is probably not going to feel like enough time, so we might get cut short, and it might be something for us to continue, but we can certainly work on that. It's yes to everything. So yeah, as long as it's legal and appropriate, sure. Keep getting for user testing. How do we get the number of participants? That's coming up like 6 times. I don't know why. Yeah. So, sorry, there was another question there. What? No, I think that's it. Oh, something's coming in now, maybe? Hold on. Too much copy pasting, shifting between. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, hold on. Sorry, everybody. One woman show. is the apprenticeship program for countries outside the U.S. My apprenticeship program is not open. So so it doesn't matter what country you're in. My apprenticeship program is not open. It doesn't exist right now. So it's not like it's only for people in certain countries. It's for nobody. It doesn't exist. So there is no apprenticeship program, and I don't believe there will be one this year. So there is nothing for you to learn more about. There's nothing for you to apply to. There's no reason to write me and tell me you're interested in my apprenticeship or internship program. It doesn't exist. I do not have a waiting list. So it doesn't exist, so please don't contact me. And actually, the contact form on the Delta CX website says, please do not contact me about the apprenticeship program. And it's amazing how many emails I still get. And it's like, you know, UX is all about attention to detail. There's something kind of funny about people who don't notice me saying, please don't send me a question about this, and then I get a question about this. So there you go. Yeah. So yeah, for coaching with me, it's deltacx.link/coaching, and we can talk about whatever you like. Hey, so I think I'm going to wrap this up because I'm going to be back here in some hours doing this all again. I'll be here at 6:30 p.m. Italy time doing this all again. If you would like to send a question to be for I'm getting another question. Is this new or is this a repeat? Can organizations from universities outside the U.S. invite you as a UX speaker? Oh, yeah. We talked about that already today. So thank you for the person asking that. I'll put it up on the screen, and then I'll play us out of here. Because I'm usually here just for an hour. So can I be invited? And again, I don't know why people keep saying outside the U.S. I don't live in the U.S. I am American. I have an American accent. I don't live in the U.S. So to me, the world is the whole world. And people from anywhere can invite me to be a speaker, a trainer, to run a workshop. Yes, you can go to deltacx.media and go to my page and learn more about some of the programs I'm doing, or you could just email me and tell me what you need. I'm doing these remotely. I'm doing them in person. The only place I won't fly to is any place that isn't safe for women, or any place that isn't safe for a non-religious person. I've been advised that there are some countries that I should not go to as a non-religious woman. And so, you can, interpret that as you will, but I can always do something remote. I've just been advised to not travel to those places. So remote, absolutely. Traveling, yes, too. I put up a new website and put up a new page, a Monday board that you can laugh at. It is cxcc.to/speaking. SPEAKING. And it's a current list of all of the speaking and training and workshops that I'm doing this year and where I'm doing them in case you want to try to, slot yourself in somewhere. Okay, thank you for asking that question. And again, these are questions you can always write to me privately to ask. You don't have to wait for Tuesday. Send a question in. But thanks to everybody for joining in for our show today. And I'm going to wrap it up for now. Sorry about some of the internet blips, but out of my control. And hopefully I'll see some of you later for the 6:30 p.m. version, which will have better lighting. And yeah, thanks again for a super show. And thank you to Anne. And catch y'all soon. And play. Okay, and now the ending video. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are